Hey, it's Greg Harrelson here, and I just want to start off by saying thank you for continuing to move forward through the videos, the video course that we've shared with you, our agent training course. And today is lesson number 12, and it's a conversation about what your day should look like, some things that you need to accomplish every day, at least Monday through Friday, for the first 60 days of your business. So I'm just going to go jump right into the conversation in hopes that you'll take this on, start doing this, and start to see your business grow very, very quickly. Number one here is making 40 contacts a day. Very, very important for you to start off making a lot of contacts. The more contacts you make, the more practice you get, and of course, the more opportunities you'll trip over or you'll find. And I know that you probably think this may be impossible to talk to that many people, but I can promise you that if you'll plan it out, if you're organized, you work with our staff to make sure you have a call list, and you stay focused, you show up early, you make your calls, you should be able to do that in say 3, maybe 4 hours. Now, eventually over time, when you get really good at it, you should be able to do that in about 3 hours per day, which is just following the morning ritual that we talked about in a previous lesson. The next thing that I want to share with you is you want to add 10 emails to your database every day. See, the key is our goal is to help you build a business that's predictable and duplicatable. But in order to do this, we know that you have to lead generate every single day. But while you're lead generating, there's going to be times, a lot of times, where people may not have any interest in selling a property or buying a property. But they have an interest in learning a little bit more about what's going on in the real estate market. And what we can do is we can gather their email addresses, and then as a company, we create a newsletter every single month that we can send out to your database, and it's branded coming from you. In other words, it's an email that goes out. It's a good newsletter that's talking about what's going on in the local market, shares a little bit of data, gives an idea of, is the market going up? Is it going down? Gives them that information. And again, it's branded with your name. So every month they see that you are actually sending them valuable real estate content. So now you're becoming a household name. After around 6 months, they'll start to remember that you, as their agent, will send them that newsletter. They'll start to look out for it. I've had times where I've skipped a month, and I've had people email me and said, hey, I missed your newsletter. Can you please resend it? They actually are so used to it. I train them to look out for it. And that's what we'll do for you. So while you're making your 40 contacts, there's going to be people that are not going to be interested in selling. Then go ahead and ask them for an email. I'm going to share in a future lesson this script that you can use to ask for the email that will help you get a high percentage of all the time of the emails that you ask for. So look out for that in about 2 to 3 lessons from now. The next one I have here is build your centers of influence list. You're going to hear us talk about centers of influence, also known as sphere of influence. So if you see the acronym COI or SOI, you'll know what we're talking about. The centers of influence, these are people that know your name, you know their name, and they know your name. They don't have to be your best friends. They could be acquaintances. But what you want to do is you want to build a database with all of your centers of influence, people that know you. And of course, there's that same newsletter that goes out to other property owners will also go out to your centers of influence, okay? And then you start to provide valuable information to them consistently. They start to see you as an authority in the business. So whenever they're thinking of doing buying or selling, or they hear somebody thinking about buying or selling, you're likely to be the recommended agent. Now here's a rule of thumb, and it's something to get excited about. In the real estate industry, it's been proven, tracked, that you should get 10% of the number of deals that you get from centers of influence should equal 10% of the size of your centers of influence database annually. So here's what that means. Let's just say that you build your database and it's 100 people. Well, if you have 100 people in your centers of influence, that should be good enough to give you 10 deals per year. So you're starting off on day one in the year with the possibility of 10 deals if you've got a centers of influence of 100 people and you work that centers of influence better. Now, there are going to be courses about centers of influence and how to master that segment of the business, but I can tell you that if you send them one email every month, a newsletter, if you mail them something, a newsletter of some sort, once a quarter, if you call them once a quarter, and if you text them once a quarter, that is going to be the strategy that you need to take in order to follow, to get the 10% rule. In other words, if you do those things consistently throughout the year in that duration, in that frequency, you'll get 10 deals per 100 people you have in your centers of influence. So the key is don't wait till next year, 2 years, 3 years down the road before you start this. Start day one and start building that in your first 60 days. The next thing I have here is hold an open house every single week for the next 60 days. Now, you may have a weekend that you've got planned to do something else, and I understand. But I will say that the internet has provided so much, or provides so much information to prospective buyers these days, that now buyers start to go look at properties on their own. There are buyers that are going to come into town. They're going to research open houses in the market, and they're going to spend a full day on Saturday going from open house to open house in the areas that they want to own a home in. And then they start calling real estate agents. So a lot of times buyers today go to open houses as that when they're starting their search before they're in a relationship with a real estate agent. So if you'll go ahead and hold an open house every week for the first 60 days, that's going to jumpstart you. That's going to really help you generate momentum faster than you can imagine. Now you may be saying, well, Greg, I don't have any listings to hold open house. There's plenty of agents in the office, excuse me. Ooh, pollen's getting me today. So there's plenty of agents in the office that have listings that would be happy for you to hold an open house for them, because that would make their seller happy. It would make them look good in the eyes of their seller if a whole open house was done, and you're going to get leads. So everyone wins. The seller wins, the agent wins, the listing agent wins, everyone wins. And guess what? You're also starting to build your database, because you're going to get these buyer leads. Some of them are going to be ready to buy today. Some of them are not going to buy for 3 to 6 months. Now you're building your business. So hopefully that information is helpful. There's 2 more though before we get off before I end the video. Is number 1, and this would be a one-time thing. This is not something that you do every week. But preview 5 company listings. Take some listings that we have on the market within our office, other agents have them listed, and go preview them. Now the point is I want you to learn how to set up a showing. I want you to learn how to use a lockbox. Excuse me. And I also want you to learn the process of giving feedback on a property that you've shown, and going through that whole process of setting up the showing, accessing property, making sure the properties are locked up, giving feedback, understanding that when you go in this one community, now you know what the amenities are. You kind of get an idea, a good feel for the area. I just think pick 5 random properties listed with our company, go out there and preview them. This is just part of the learning process to help you get more familiar with the market. And the more familiar you are, the more comfortable you are. And the more comfortable you are, the more confident you are. So whether you're working with buyers or potential sellers, listings, this type of activity will help you gain confidence. And last but not least, role play. Every single week for the next 60 days, I want you to role play, and I suggest you role play for 1 hour per day, 5 days a week. We'll talk about role playing and how to do that in a later lesson, but I want you to just go ahead and start doing that now, because role playing is where you practice. You don't necessarily want to practice on the consumer. If a doctor is learning how to perform a surgery, you don't want them to practice on a live person. You want them to actually practice, in a lab. You don't want them to practice on a real person, because if something goes wrong, then the person could, pass away, unfortunately. And real estate's the same way. You want to practice in the lab. You want to practice, you want to role play, go through the conversations, learn the conversations, learn what to say, what not to say, how to handle and answer certain objections or questions. So then you gain more knowledge, you start gaining more confidence on the conversation. And when you can have the conversation with a buyer or seller, when you have a confident conversation with a buyer and seller, then the buyer or seller is confident in hiring you. Real estate is not necessarily a game of contacts. It's more a game of confidence. And they hire confidence. I mean, think about it yourself. Would you want to hire somebody and you were to say to them, well, can you sell the home? And one agent says, well, you know, I would promise you I can do the best. I'll do the best I can. Shit, there's some doubt in that answer. Versus, can you sell my home? I am 100% confident that I can get this property sold. And through the process, I am sure you're going to appreciate how well I communicate and keep you informed while we're working together. How's that sound? Now, all of a sudden, you're going to want to hire that person, right? And it's not that I really said anything much better. It wasn't that the words were better. It was the delivery was better. And the reason it was better is because it showed I was confident and they are going to likely choose me. So that's what I want you to do. You got to go out there. I think we said here, you got to make the contacts, 40 contacts a day, get 10 emails for your database each day, build your centers of influence every day, hold an open house every week, preview 5 company listings, and role play 1 hour per day, 5 days a week for the next 60 days. I will promise you, you following this guide here, you following the coaching that I'm sharing with you is going to make a significant impact on your business. And I'm 100% committed to helping you reach your goals. And these are the things that I know that if you do them and when you do them, you'll be on the right path. I look forward to seeing you, talking to you soon, and go ahead and continue on and go to the next lesson.